Hello, friends. Ted Wilcox here again to bring you into another thrilling chapter in our continuing saga of magic, mystery, and the American century. But before we begin, here's Charlie Pulcher with a brief review of our last episode.
Last time, while investigating Joshua Norton Park, Mickey crossed paths with something terrifying. A smiling stranger whose eyes triggered a rare glimpse. For one horrifying instant, Mickey saw beyond the mask and into the thing beneath, an endless sea of darkness. A storm battering an ancient castle, and something vast and starving rising from below. Whatever walked through that park wasn't merely dangerous. It was a monster powerful enough to leave even Mickey McFinn shaken. But after sending Bullet to follow the stranger, the fear it awakened stirred memories Mickey had spent years trying to bury. Memories of war, of death, of failure. And sitting alone behind the wheel of the Super Deluxe, with 6 missing women depending on her, Mickey is forced to confront the one thing she fears most, herself. What happens next? We'll find out now.
This is the Mythic Chronicles. Entry 1. Crime Wave.
Chapter 22. Mickey Goes to the Mechanic. October 25th, 1951. Fleischburg's luxury Magi Mechanics was the West Coast's premier magi-tech enhancement shop, and it looked the part. The 2-story structure sprawled across an entire city block, more warehouse than garage, with 3 massive bay doors large enough for vehicles to drive straight in. Inside, a team of young, attentive apprentices stood ready to guide customers to the front, where the waiting area rivaled the lobby of a high-end hotel. Clients could sip imported coffee, enjoy cigars from a luxury smoke shop, or get a haircut from one of 2 barbers while their vehicles received the finest enhancements money could buy. Mickey bypassed all of it. She guided the Super Deluxe past the main entrance and turned down the back alley. A sign reading "Employee Access Only" hung above what looked like a solid wall, but she didn't even tap the brakes. The illusion shimmered, flickered, then vanished, revealing a hidden garage door that rumbled open. The massive, well-lit workshop beyond was a shrine to craftsmanship. Blue and white dominated the space, accented with gold. Jewish artifacts lined the walls beside gleaming magi-tech tools. Everything from the rows of tools to the painted cement floors was spotless, precise, and top of the line. Bearded dwarves bustled about, working on a line of high-end vehicles raised on lifts. The pneumatic hiss of wrenches and drills cut through the steady stream of klezmer music, drifting in from somewhere unseen, punctuated by sharp exchanges in Hungarian-tinged Yiddish. Mickey pulled into an open bay beneath a mural-sized sign that read, "Nothing beats a Fleischburg." She killed the engine, climbed out, and leaned against the driver's side door, waiting to be noticed by a trio of dwarves amid some sort of animated debate. The first, a swarthy blonde with a long beard and matching peyote, brandished a newspaper like a weapon. "This Lichten character may act like a macher," he declared in thickly accented English. "With all the donations and speeches and party planning, but I'm telling you, the man's a ganef." The second dwarf, a broad, mountainous figure, crossed his arms over a granite-colored beard streaked with white, blue, and gold beads. An amused smile played on his lips. "Hugh Lichten's a competitor of Cloud9, Ephraim. I'd have thought you'd appreciate him for that alone." Ephraim flushed and flapped the paper harder. "Appreciate him for what? Look at what he's done to the shipping industry. Bringing in all those foreign schwarzes and other dweems to replace local workers? It's robbery. Mark my words, the man's a schmuck. He and the schmucks at Cloud9 are strangling the free market, building monopolies. They're all schmucks." The third dwarf, his beard streaked in autumnal hues of red, gold, and brown, barked a laugh as he leaned over the exposed engine of a jet-black Bentley Mark VI. "Bah, you think everyone's a schmuck. That's because they are," Ephraim shouted, stabbing the paper with a meaty finger. "Look, he's got this fancy-schmancy spec tower with its own Tier 2 power crystal for the treaty.
The one using that Goyam's microwave calibration tech. Magical transference theory or whatever from the guy whose kid got abducted. His crystals are broadcasting the treaty. What's his name? Franklin? Granite Beard offered. Whatever. He's in Lichten's pocket too. And now the poor schmucks living in Palo Alto and all those other cities must look at this eyesore. It looks like a giant metal schmeckle springing into the air. Autumnbeard chuckled. Not that big, eh, Ephraim? He teased with a wink. Granitebeard roared with laughter. When he sobered, he clapped Ephraim on the shoulder. All right, all right. But even if that's true, what's wrong with the man funding magi-tech advancements? What's wrong? Ephraim echoed. He's one step away from owning most of the shipping on the West Coast. And now the broadcasting companies, too. It's villainy. I told you, it's... He broke off mid-rant. His eyes had locked on Mickey. His expression rolled from consternation to surprise, then right back to consternation as his gaze flicked from her to the car. What did you do to my car? He yelled.
The other two turned at his outburst. Both smiled, exchanging knowing looks. Mickey smirked and crossed her arms. Your car? She asked, all innocence. Ephraim muttered something under his breath and stormed toward the vehicle, digging a rag from the pocket of his herringbone coveralls. He wiped his hands as he circled, eyes sharp as he assessed the vehicle. You burned out all the protective enhancements, he grumbled, tracing the ruined glyphs. He opened the passenger door and pointed at a melted set of runes. The stealth and comms wards have schmutz and scratches all over them. And what, in the name of frozen Gehinnom, is this? Mickey shrugged. It got a little hot this summer. Ephraim's face darkened. A little hot? Jew. He jabbed his finger like a weapon. You are a destroyer. To take art and turn it to Verschlagener. It's sacrilege. An act against God himself. Mickey grinned. What can I say, Effie? I play hard. Ephraim turned redder. You should not be allowed such gifts. I should. No, Ephraim, Granitebeard interjected. It is not for us to decide such things. He turned to Mickey and inclined his head. Miss McFinn, as ever, it is a pleasure to welcome you back to our place of business. Mickey smiled, mirroring the nod, but dipping her head a fraction deeper. Like everything with the Dwarven people, the role of tradesperson and client came with expectations. Hello, Ibrahim. Your shop, as always, is a marvel to behold. She folded her hands. It's a rare gift indeed to be attended by such paragons of the craft. I am humbled and delighted to once again find myself in your presence. A little extra formality never hurt with the Fleischburgs. They were about as progressive as dwarves got, but traditions were traditions. Proprieties completed, she shot Ibrahim a wink, cupping a hand theatrically around her mouth. Except Grumpy over there, she stage whispered. He could use a good lay. Ephraim looked about 2 seconds from bursting a blood vessel as Ibrahim and Autumnbeard burst into laughter. The autumn-bearded dwarf shot Mickey a wink and clapped Ephraim on the back, steering him toward the Bentley as the two resumed their banter in Yiddish. Mickey smiled. It's good to be back. And it's good to see you haven't lost your chutzpah, Mickey, Ibrahim said, opening his arms for a hug. Though invoking that awful cartoon was low, even for Jew. Mickey bent slightly to embrace the burly man. She was a head taller, but dwarves were built like boulders. Her arms didn't even come close to wrapping around him. They separated, and Mickey gestured toward the shop. Business seems to be going well. Aye, Ibrahim said, eyes twinkling as they swept the space. Though they worked in different disciplines, Ibrahim and Rosie Fleischburg were pioneers of magi-tech, the delicate, intricate fusion of magic and science. It had taken decades of toil and several relocations, but he and his clan had turned a rundown warehouse into the thriving enterprise it was today. Fleischburgs now catered to the upper crust of San Francisco and beyond. Anything from comfort to performance to security. If you could imagine it and afford it, they could build it. He exhaled and turned back to her. So, what brings you through our doors, Michelle McFinn? I doubt it's only to torture poor Ephraim. Mickey laughed. No, but it's a real perk. Ibrahim snorted. Is she in? I've got something she might find interesting. He jerked a thumb toward the back. Aye, she's in her workshop. She'll be happy to see you. He slapped the roof of the Super Deluxe. And while you catch up, I'll make sure this disgrace gets a proper tune-up. Yes? Mickey bowed. I do not deserve the kindness, Ibrahim. Of course you do, he scoffed, waving her off. You may be a heathen and a charlatan, but you are a mensch, and my Rosie considers you a friend. He grinned. Also, you'll be paying for the services, of course. Mickey flashed her sweetest smile. Do I get the mensch discount? Ibrahim's teeth flashed bright white through his beard. Why not? Mickey shot him a wink and headed down the corridor. Past the office and break area, she stopped at a door marked Private. Beyond it stretched a plain hallway ending in a single metal security door. The moment her foot hit the tile, magic pressed down like a lead blanket. Rosie's runes didn't just scan, they judged. Each step grew heavier, her limbs dragging as the enchantment probed for threats. By the halfway point, she was panting. Then, as if they never existed, they lifted. Mickey paused and glanced back. The hallway looked unchanged, but she felt like she'd walked much farther than 20 steps. Shaking it off, she turned and knocked. A familiar, gruff voice crackled to life over the intercom, nestled between glowing crystal sconces. Halt, Ephraim's recording barked. You are to be scanned. Hold still or die. Mickey sighed, but stood still. Red beams swept over her in agonizing slow motion. When it reached her feet and crawled back up, the crystals blinked green with a cheerful bing, followed by a series of heavy ka-chunks as many, many locks disengaged. You are clear. Proceed in peace and have a happy day, Ephraim's voice ordered. She saluted the speaker and stepped inside. The shift was immediate. She hadn't just entered another room. She'd entered an entirely different building. A flicker of movement caught Mickey's eye. She turned, but saw nothing. Shrugging, she stepped forward and ran straight into a refreshment table that she was certain wasn't there a moment ago. The crash of toppled drinks and spilled sandwiches echoed through the space. Damn it, every time, she grumbled, stepping over the mess. Glancing toward the space, she added, Thanks, but I'm good. No need for more snacks. Nobody answered, but Mickey got the distinct impression that the silence disapproved. A distant buzzing, punctuated by sharp crackles and hisses, drew her attention. The workshop was the size of a hangar. Unlike the pristine order of Ibrahim's garage, this place was a riot of controlled chaos. Rows upon rows of shelves brimmed with half-finished experiments, components, and a random assortment of inexplicable oddities. The only noticeable similarity between the two spaces was the same klezmer music drifting in from somewhere unseen. She followed the sound, weaving through the shelves, marveling at the sheer volume of strange clutter. One aisle held racks of medieval weaponry, another, jars of dead reptiles. Then came crates marked gunpowder, followed by marionettes with firearms for hands. Eventually, she found the source of the noise, a cluttered workstation wedged between an industrial refrigeration unit and a wooden spindle lifted straight from a Grimm's fairy tale. At the bench stood a dwarvish woman, welding what looked suspiciously like the grip of a cannon. Rosie. She wore an outfit torn between popular science and good housekeeping. Fit gloves and a leather apron over a stylish yellow and green dress embroidered with intricate pumpkin designs. The dress hugged her plump frame up top, flowed to her ankles, and matched her bright orange high heels. Midnight black hair, curled into a Lucille Ball-style poodle cut, peeked from beneath a steel welding mask. Mickey waited as Rosie finished her work, shut off the torch, and lifted her mask to reveal a broad face adorned with ruby lipstick, blue eyeshadow, and pencil-thin brows. She squealed and stripped off her gloves and apron before pulling Mickey into a warm, matronly embrace. "Michelle," Mickey grinned. "Hiya, Rosie." Rosie held her at arm's length, hazelnut eyes scanning her from head to toe. Unlike the bearded, broad-shouldered male dwarves, Rosie's face was soft and open. Scan complete, it pinched into a look of tight concern. "Boobla?" she asked. "What happened?" Mickey winced. She'd forgotten how tuned in Rosie was to her moods. The dwarf was a damned emotional bloodhound. "Nothing," she said, forcing a grin. "Though your little helpers nearly killed me." Rosie waved a hand. "The Tundere get a little overexcited when we have company. But that's not what I'm talking about, doll, and you know it. And where the hells have you been? You promised you wouldn't go this long between visits." Mickey looked away. Hoping to throw her off the scent, she tossed out red meat. "Oh, you know how it is," she said, rolling her eyes. "Had a little spat with a less-than-friendly debt collector." Rosie's expression darkened. "What did I tell you about that crowd? Julian may be a couple fish short of a school, but the lament a no joke. And that schlang boss of theirs, D'Antona, is a real demon. If you just let me lend you the—" Mickey cut her off with a sharp shake of her head. "I said no, Rosie," she said, fingers digging into her purse for a cigarette. "I may be a weasel, but I'm not about to abuse our friendship to clean up my mess. And I didn't come here to blubber. I brought you a gift. A challenge." Rosie's gaze flicked to the cigarette as Mickey lit it. "You know a study came out last year that says those things'll kill you." Mickey exhaled a slow stream of smoke, one eyebrow lifting. "You don't say." A moment passed. Rosie didn't reply, though Mickey could see the words forming behind her eyes. Then she blew out a breath. She might have looked barely into her 40s, but Rosie was pushing a century and a half, and she'd long since mastered the art of patience. Plus, she knew Mickey too well. "Challenge, you said?" Mickey smirked as she pulled the baggie containing the shavings she'd taken from the park from her coat. "I need you to find out what kind of tire this comes from." Rosie scoffed, folding her arms. "Not much of a challenge, doll." "Ah," Mickey said, lifting a finger. "The FBI can trace a sample in a few hours, if they know what they're trying to match." Rosie frowned. "And who do you think built the system that makes that even possible?" "Well," Mickey said, dangling the baggie like a hypnotist's watch, "my challenge is for you to beat their time, and do it with no background information at all." Rosie glared at her a moment longer before a grin spread across her round face. She snatched the bag from Mickey's fingers, eyes glinting with mischief. "Oh, now you're talking my language," she said, rolling up her sleeves. "Let's make a little magic." Mickey smirked, smoke curling from her lips. Finally, she thought, something fun.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Mythic Chronicles. The story continues every Tuesday and Thursday. If you're enjoying the journey, please consider rating and reviewing the podcast. Your words might help bring more mythics into the fold. To listen ahead, unlock bonus content, and gain access to VIP Discord roles and behind-the-scenes updates, check out our Patreon, or visit us at SeanTLaffertyBooks.com. I'm Sean. Thanks again for being here.